Good morning. The objective of this presentation is to examine a composite index of social, environmental, and financial performance. We will first cover the main issue presented in the paper, followed by the theoretical framework, then the methodological approach, and finally, my understanding of the findings. The paper presents a holistic evaluation framework for banks, designed to improve how they screen corporate borrowers. When banks assess these entities, they act as agents with inside information and play a crucial role in monitoring risks. The evaluation framework a bank uses directly affects its risk-return profile. However, what's often overlooked is the role of multiple stakeholders, each with their own interest in this process. This paper addresses that issue by proposing a framework that integrates stakeholder objectives and ensures their interests are represented. The banking environment involves various stakeholders, including depositors, shareholders, regulators, and society, all interested in how capital is lent. This creates a complex evaluation process, as banks must consider what do these stakeholders want, and whose perspective should shape the framework. There are no easy answers. Depositors may prioritize ethical lending, policymakers focus on responsibility, and investors may also have social and ethical concerns. A framework that evaluates both financial creditworthiness and social environmental performance could add significant value. By incorporating corporate social responsibility attributes, banks can enhance their traditional financial assessments while demonstrating responsible conduct to the public. The aim is to create a credit score that reflects the diverse perspective of stakeholders in the bank's environment. However, the key question is whose view should be included in this process. The proposed framework addresses this by measuring firm performance and providing banks with rankings and detailed insight about their clients. This information guides lending and investment decisions, emphasizing the need to integrate environmental and social criteria alongside financial factors. Let's now discuss the theoretical framework, which takes a multidimensional and integrated approach to evaluating firms. This framework goes beyond financial fundamentals by incorporating corporate social responsibility and its core components, which is economic, environmental, and social dimensions. While this broader view offers a comprehensive perspective, it doesn't provide clear, actionable guidelines for evaluating these dimensions. This is where composite indicators play a crucial role. There are tools commonly used by academics, policymakers, and practitioners to combine various dimensions into a single metric. By synthesizing multiple criteria into one value, these indicators provide a clear summary of a firm's overall performances. Illustration of the holistic evaluation framework would allow banks to evaluate companies from a multidimensional perspective while also considering the interest of various stakeholders in both the internal and external environments of the bank. The evaluation is divided into three dimensions where the social and environmental aspects complement traditional financial analysis by providing insight into a firm's practices regarding decent work, local development, resource use, and waste management. This approach aligns with CSR principles, and would offer a long-term evaluation framework that shareholders might find useful. The criteria for each dimension may vary depending on the agent applying the framework. While the selection of indicators is beyond the scope of the study, the authors stress that when developing a composite indicator, decisions needs to be made at each stage. One of the most challenging stages is determining how criteria are weighted and aggregated. A key focus of the theoretical framework is identifying who qualifies as an expert and what the assigned weights represent. Typically, a single weight vector is chosen by one decision maker or representative agent, but this approach can be arbitrary, raising concerns about whether it accurately reflects the perspective of all stakeholders. To address that, The paper suggests that banks should consider multiple perspectives from different stakeholder groups, rather than relying on a single viewpoint. The methodological framework focuses on how various criteria are combined into a single composite index. The authors employ a quasi-arithmetic mean, where weights represent the importance of each criterion. Each firm is evaluated based on a set of criteria belonging to the three dimensions, and the weights for these criteria are aggregated to form the composite index. This allows the framework to be flexible, adapting to changing priorities and criteria. To ensure comparability, raw values of criteria are normalized using a sigmoid function, which eliminates extreme value and brings all indicators to a comparable scale. From there, a probability score is calculated using a normal cumulative density function. This score reflects a firm's percentile rank within its industry for a given year, with a higher score indicating stronger performance relative to peers. So far, the framework assumes that a single decision maker represents all stakeholders, and that a well-defined set of parameters guides the evaluation. The innovation of the proposed framework lies in its incorporation of multiple stakeholder perspectives through stochastic multi-objective acceptability analysis, SMAA. This method explores a weight space representing all possible combinations of weights for criteria, reflecting their importance. By simulating multiple weights combination, it ensures the evaluation captures all reasonable stakeholder viewpoints, making the evaluation stakeholder specific. While SMAA is powerful, it is not sufficient. The Markowitz mean variance framework is introduced to add two important metrics: the mean, which reflects the typical evaluation across all stakeholder views, and the standard deviation, which indicates how much the evaluation deviates from this typical view. These metrics are combined into an efficiency score, or a benefit of the doubt, allowing firms to maximize their performance evaluation while considering robustness. Ideal firms have a high mean and a low deviation, showing they perform well and consistently meet stakeholders' expectations. Conversely, firms with low mean or high deviation struggle to satisfy stakeholders. The framework then identifies Pareto-Koopman's frontier in the sigma-mu plane, which represent different levels of competition or performance. Firms that dominate all others are placed on the first frontier, while subsequent frontiers represent non-dominated subsets. Finally, to further refine the evaluation, the framework considers the multiple criteria hierarchy process. This tool helps identify strengths and weaknesses within specific dimensions: social, environmental, and financial. Each firm gets scores per dimension, offering deeper insights. To improve robustness, evaluations can be adjusted by comparing firms to fixed benchmarks, such as ideal, ordinary, or poor performers, or using tailored central profiles based on analyst expertise. It reduces dependency on sample comparisons. Additionally, statistical tools like the topic model can help estimate the main effects on the composite index, highlighting areas of improvement while accounting for interaction between criteria. Now, let's talk about the main findings regarding the practical application of the composite indicator. It is a valuable tool for business intelligence, helping banks and firms evaluate performance both numerically and in rankings. This allows managers to better understand performances, balance stakeholder expectations, and develop strategies to improve firm performance in financial, social, and environmental aspects. In the empirical application, the framework is applied to data from more than 4,000 unique firms across 9 industries and 70 countries, from 2004 to 2017. The dataset included a variety of indicators categorized into the 3 dimensions. Financial indicators cover profitability, leverage, and liquidity. Environmental performance is measured using emissions, while social indicators include product responsibility, community engagement, human rights, and workforce practices. The results highlight distinct sector-specific differences in the composite index score. For example, industries like basic materials and energy exhibit more financial volatility, while the consumer, non-cyclical sectors demonstrate consistent improvement in social and environmental performance. In a cross-country comparison of 2017, European firms were found to perform particularly well in holistic evaluation, especially in social and environmental dimensions, showing a stronger commitment to sustainability in Europe compared to other regions. The time series analysis also reveals significant trends in how firms across different industries and regions balance financial, social, and environmental priorities over time. Further, a Tobit model was used to estimate the marginal effects of individual indicators on the composite index. The analysis found considerable trade-offs between the dimensions. For example, profitability in the energy sector had a significant impact on overall performance of the indicator. To refine this analysis, continuous by continuous interactions were incorporated, allowing to assess how the effect of one variable changes depending on the level of another. For example, the impact of profitability on overall performance may depend on the level of environmental emissions. This enhances the understanding of the complex relationship between the various dimensions. By decomposing the marginal effects, the model identifies how improving one aspect, such as financial performance, might either amplify or diminish others, like environmental or social outcomes. Ultimately, the analysis highlights the importance of balancing stakeholders' interests with strong performance, confirming that the framework is a useful, inclusive evaluation system for banking. Now, let's see what are the limitations of the proposed framework. One key limitation lies in how weights are assigned to each criterion in the composite indicator. If stakeholders prioritize only financial performance, they might allocate very low or even zero weights to social and environmental criteria. This could render the index unidimensional, making the efficiency score high despite poor performance in environmental or social aspects. While the framework acknowledges the trade-offs between the three dimensions, it doesn't inherently penalize firms that prioritize one at the expense of other, unless the stakeholders' preferences dictate such adjustments. This means that firms could excel in one dimension while neglecting others, without any correction in their efficiency score, which contradicts the increasing focus on sustainability and social practices. Additionally, the framework's reliance on subjective inputs for weighting could lead to inconsistencies in evaluations, as no clear guidelines are provided on how to balance the financial, social, and environmental dimensions. This introduces another layer of uncertainty, especially when trying to compare firms from different sectors or regions. Moreover, the framework is limited by data availability and quality. In industries or regions where data on social and environmental indicators is scarce, or where reporting standards are weak, the framework may not be as reliable. This issue is especially prevalent in developing countries or sectors where environmental social governance reporting is not mandatory or standardized. Differences in reporting methods can also lead to inconsistencies in data, such as varying emissions reporting practices, making cross-firm or cross-sector comparisons challenging. This creates a bias in evaluations, as firms in well-regulated environments, such as in Europe, may be favored over those in less regulated regions. To conclude, I will highlight how the paper's findings help shape my understanding of the accurate strategy towards a sustainable socio-economic system. The inclusivity of a wide range of stakeholder perspective ensures that diverse interests are accounted for, from shareholders and employees to local communities and environmental advocates. By incorporating these varied viewpoints, banks can align their strategies with broader societal goals, while addressing specific concerns of their stakeholders. I understand that this approach is not merely about enhancing transparency, but also about building a shared vision of sustainable success. Additionally, banks can proactively alleviate challenges such as adverse selection and moral hazard. Initial screenings informed by this framework ensures that only clients who meet robust social, environmental, and financial criteria are onboarded. This reduces the risk of selecting entities with misaligned values or unsustainable practices. By integrating environmental and social criteria into corporate evaluations, companies are encouraged to improve their performance in areas such as project responsibility, community engagement, human rights, and workforce practices. For instance, focusing on project responsibility ensures that companies create goods and services that are safe, sustainable, and meet ethical standards. Community engagement fosters stronger ties with local population, addressing their needs and concerns while supporting regional development. Moreover, adherence to human rights standards can lead to the eradication of exploitative practice, promoting fair labor conditions and protecting vulnerable groups. Emphasizing workforce practices encourages businesses to provide decent work environments, fair wage, and opportunities for employee growth. Together, these initiatives contribute to a more inclusive and ethical socio-economic system, reinforcing trust between companies and their stakeholders, while demonstrating that profitability and social good are not mutually exclusive. Finally, incorporating environmental criteria into business decisions incentivizes companies to cut emissions, reduce waste, and use resources sustainably. This helps fight climate change while driving innovation in eco-friendly technologies and practices. As businesses align their operations with environmentally friendly goals, they contribute to global efforts to achieve net zero emissions, preserving ecosystems and biodiversity. As we have seen in the course, since poverty and climate change are intertwined, vulnerable communities often bear the brunt of environmental degradation, facing challenges such as displacement, loss of livelihoods, and lack of access to essential resources. By incentivizing companies to adopt sustainable practices, businesses contribute to the creation of resilient systems that prioritize equitable resources distribution, and social welfare. Over time, this can lead to more inclusive growth. These actions not only reduce disparities, but also foster a stable and prosperous environment that benefits both businesses and communities in the long run.